Same thing goes for the female reproductive system as well, right? Same thing goes for the female reproductive system, which we have seen in a lot more detail. But this gives us an opportunity to take a look at the male reproductive system in a better sort of a manner, right? So the male reproductive system in that particular manner. So I hope that you understand this, right? So when a sperm enters here, okay, through the vaginal canal, the cervix, uterus, enter the fallopian tube, and then be able to sort of like penetrate the egg cell. This is the internal sort of machinery. More important that you understand this. This is the external. One thing that if you remember, we talked about this, right? The urethral opening and the vaginal opening are different in the females, and that is different from the males, right? So the males have a different sort of a system in which it is the same sort of an opening for both ejaculation of the sperm also, and even for urinary sort of removal. Right, so that is that. So again, just to summarize everything, so if you can have this particular table, it basically gives you an idea of what are the serogenetic components here, what does FSH do, what does the LH do, what does the estrogen do, what does the progesterone do for the females, right? So we've done this in a great set of detail in the menarche related topics, right? So what does the follicle stimulating hormone do? It is supposed to stimulate the follicles, okay, and that results in the maturation of one of those eggs, so that the egg basically can come out of the ovarian wall and enter into the fallopian tube, right? So that is that. So it results in a lot of estrogen sort of production, okay. Estrogen does what? Okay, so at one particular point, the estrogen will also understand that, hey, you know what? Okay, there is enough of stimulation. Okay, now the egg is basically ready to sort of like burst out. Okay, the egg is basically ready to burst out of the ovary. Okay, so what it needs is not more FSH, okay, because FSH has already done its job. So inhibit the production of that, reduce the production of that, but instead provide a little more of LH. LH, if you guys remember, luteinizing hormone or leaving home. What is a home? Ovary for the egg. So it is ready to leave home. So basically it will help in the production of your LH. This will result in what? It will result in, ovulation, right? So when the egg is basically breaking out of the ovarian wall, entering the fallopian tube, this is basically what we call as the ovulation. A small little window will open up, for a possible pregnancy, if there is sperm that can enter into the fallopian tube within a period of 24 hours, 48 hours, and so on, right? And then if it does happen, you also have the progesterone that can play an important role. What does the progesterone do? Progesterone plays an important role in maintaining the lining of the uterus, okay, hoping for fertilized egg to sort of come and implant itself, right? From, so it will be a fertilized egg, and then it starts dividing, and then it becomes a morula, and from morula it will basically becomes a blastocyst, and then from there, it basically sort of gets it basically tries to implant in the woman, right? So so you have all of these things basically happening, right? So you've been seen all of these things in a great bit of detail. Okay, along with this, you also have the human chorionic gonadotropin. Okay, so human chorionic gonadotropin. Now, who can tell me what does the human chorionic gonadotropin do? When did we see this? Right. So if you remember, so whenever the egg, so tell me, like, which is the topic in which we have seen this? Correct. Okay, so somebody says pregnancy test. Yeah. So I mean, the topic that we discussed those is that the synthetic production of those pregnancy test kits, monoclonal antibodies, right? So I know what you're talking about. So pregnancy test kits, right? So definitely that. See, there are a few important roles that the human chorionic gonadotropin that it plays, right? So first thing is that it is actually produced by the developing placenta after the fertilized egg, right? It has successfully sort of implanted itself in the uterus. Okay, in the uterus. So this plays a important role when so it's a very important sort of hormone for that, right? With regard to the corpus luteum, right, the HCG, this is the one that basically signals the corpus luteum. Okay, and corpus luteum, if you guys remember, it is like the structure that is formed after the ovarian follicle has left the egg has basically left the ovarian follicle, right? From that, so that is basically what we call as the corpus luteum. Okay, and so this basically tells the corpus luteum to still persist in producing the required amount of progesterone, the required amount of estrogen, and so on. It also plays an important role in supporting pregnancy, right? It ensures that there is sustained activity of the ongoing production of your progesterone and estrogen that we basically mentioned. It also ensures that there is maintenance of those lining, right? So in the woman, the endometrium layers and all of that. Okay, so keep it filled with your the certain amount of blood and tissue and all of that, blood and nutrients, in order to sort of like be able to sort of support a new life in the uterus. Right, so is this clear? The one that you mentioned is basically for the pregnancy test kits, right? So the presence of HCG is the basis for detecting pregnancy, okay, in many home pregnancy test kits that you can get, okay. So over the counter pregnancy test kits that are available, okay, those things can be done. So HCG, as you said, it can serve as a critical what do you call that, a communicator in showcasing early pregnancy or pregnancy at early stages. Cool. Okay, so that is that corpus luteum. So this is that, and then we can also talk about the next one. Okay, so there are either of two things that you guys know that can happen, right? One is, if there is, if the egg fertilizes, that is pregnancy. If it is not fertilized, it is basically periods and menstruation. Now, the reason I mentioned this just before we go into the process of production of the egg portion, right? Like spermatogenesis, the female related component of mitosis and meiosis, is that till now I have basically sort of simplified this. And I've basically mentioned that the egg is basically, if there is fertilization, the egg, okay, so it basically gets implanted, the fertilized egg. If not, it basically sort of like is it leaves the body through the periods, right? Actually, the egg is only if it is pregnancy, okay. The mature egg is only if it is pregnancy. If not, it is a secondary oocyte. Okay, it is a secondary oocyte. So I just want to sort of clarify that I'm just taking it a little more in depth. Okay, it is a little more in depth. Okay, so let's try to understand this particular table as well. Okay, so this particular graph as well.